Hello, Pisces rising. I'm Britten LaRue, and this is Scopes Unshamed for July 2026. So, you may have heard July 2026 has some big astrology. You may have heard astrologers talk about it. You may be studying it yourself. Maybe you've never heard about this. So, I'm going to give you my perspective, an emergence astrology perspective. I'm the head of the Emergence Astrology School, and this is my book, Living Astrology. I'm sharing the link to purchase your copy in the show notes because it's such a beautiful book and very, very unique. All right. So, this particular month has the three outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, all coming into a configuration across the sky from one another where they can see each other exactly. So, they're in like a call, like they're on the line together at the same time. Meanwhile, Jupiter is also coming into this exact formation so Jupiter's like amplifying this call to experience, this invitation of the outer planets. So let me back up and say that those outer planets, they're all destabilizing, all three outer planets. They invite us into destabilization. And this sounds scary, except destabilizing what's harmful to us is a good thing. And even though sometimes it can be really uncomfortable when they're transiting an important part of our chart, like a sun or a moon or the ascendant or the midheaven, if they're transiting a particular high point in our chart, it can feel really uncomfortable because we are rapidly coming into new ways of being, and it does feel like a death. However, on the other side, we've been liberated into a more authentic way of being, one that's more true to our essence. We've released some of the ways of being that came from harmful conditioning, harmful programming. And so ultimately, for me, this is always an exciting thing. It depends on our appetite and our practice with change, how we feel about that. So I'll leave it to you, listener, to feel into, what comes up for you when I say that. The conversation is happening at 4 degrees of the signs that they're in. So Aquarius, Aries, Gemini, and Leo are where those four planets are going to be at 4 degrees each. So if you have any placements or points in your chart around 4 degrees, those points are going to be activated by this astrology. And I would say from any sign in the chart between like 3 and 5 degrees, even 2 to 6 degrees, there may be some kind of like rise in activity. What does that even mean? Rise in activity. Okay, so the big invitation I would say to you is the invitation into availability, to be available, to be available to notice what's coming up in you this month and what's coming up all around you this month. What this astrology means for you is none other than what's coming up. That's what it means for you. So your job is to be available because you're being invited to notice what patterns, what ways of talking to yourself, what ways of seeing the world, what ways of being in contract with other people, what types of expectations or not having expectations is just no longer in affinity with where you're going. Because what you're doing right now is you are updating into present time and dropping what is outdated. You're molting. You're molting. You're allowing what's outdated to molt. And can you just allow that to happen? Are you available for it to happen? Do you agree with it? Do you agree to be available to it happening? And then let your new self just emerge. Like, this is who I am now. This is who I am now. I am a person who da da da. And this is allow it to be, I used to have a thing with this, but in present time, I am learning to this. Or in present time, I am this. Because that's what's happening. That's what's happening. And I don't think some of this stuff will be a surprise to you because these outer planets move very slow and they've been kind of coming into this formation for a while. So you're like, this is just like a locking in on what you've been pretty aware of as what's been happening to you already. You're just locking into the truth of it, the locking into the reality of it, and making it so. So, um, let me just tune in. Yeah, what I'm getting a little ding to speak to you about is the Mercury retrograde in Cancer that's also happening this month in your fifth house of creativity, children, play, hobbies, students. So Mercury will be retrograde until July 23, so that's most of the month. And in a water sign, and you are a water sign, Pisces rising. And this may be a time when, like, more than anything, what's coming up is you seeing some patterns that may not be, you're seeing now, very helpful for you anymore. Like patterns of not being direct with yourself and with other people about what you need, what you prefer, what you want, what's important to you. Because for whatever reason, maybe you learn to be avoidant. Maybe you learn to protect people from what you presume they don't want to hear. Maybe you feel more safe not putting yourself first. Maybe you feel more safe accommodating. And you may be getting a lot of information about this ultimately not being kind of how you do things anymore. And you may also start to be seeing how you don't really appreciate it from the people around you either. And you really like recognizing how nice it is when people are direct with you. And then you don't have to wonder where they're at. You don't have to wonder, do they want to be here? Or do they not want to be here? You know, because they're going to tell you. So then you start to see, wow, I get so much time back. You're like, wow, I really don't have to lose a lot of energy with this person. That's amazing. Or maybe you're having that reflected back to you. Somebody's recognizing that. But sometimes at the beginning of these retrogrades, we're seeing where we could learn, like where we could really learn to mature our communication. And for the sign of Cancer, those are some of the things that I can see coming up. And so that may be kind of more of the hot topic for you in July than anything else is, Pisces does tend to shapeshift. The degree to which you take that on will be a little different depending on where your sun is, I would say. If your sun is in a more fixed sign, you may not be as much of a shapeshifter. But Pisces can be a part of you that chameleons to the room. And this is a gift, but it also can have limits. I'm saying this as a Pisces sun. This can have limits because it's good to know your edges too. And like, where are your deal breakers? What is not you? Even though you can become many things, but what is definitely not you though? Really learning that and how to communicate from that place could be a really powerful move at this time. Um, that feels complete. Thank you so much, Pisces Rising. Please leave a comment if some of this is helpful for you. If you start to see it coming up this month, come back and leave a comment. Please subscribe, and I will see you in August.